So welcome back to another episode, and today I thought I'd talk about video game collecting and kind of what it means to me and what does it mean for you guys to video game collect. Is it a big thing in your life? Do you like video game collecting, or do you just like watching shows about people who collect video games? That's the interesting thing. There's a lot I want to talk about today. I want to talk about collecting and how it affected YouTube back in the day and how YouTube affected collecting. That's also a fascinating thing, and some of the reasons why people collect video games. And I'm going to talk about my journey pretty much. And what is this, a collection? What is this? So I'll start back in the beginning. Obviously, back in the past when I was a younger kid, I wasn't a video game collector. I was just a kid. I liked video games, and I wanted to keep the video games as I was playing them. And I was one of those guys, I think a lot of people think on the channel that I'm just a retro channel at times, but I was always buying the latest video game all the way from back in '87 to right now. So I've always been buying the latest games because I just enjoyed them. I had a lot of fun with them. All of these games here are my originals that I bought usually on day one because I was looking forward to playing the games. And so what happened for me is, as I was buying each game, I didn't want to sell them. I didn't want to sell these games. I did do a purge when I was 19, regret it, but for the most part, I didn't want to sell the games that really meant something to me. So I kept them all over the years. And then what happened is, I didn't have a collection behind me back then. I would have my collection all over the place. It would be in closets and in drawers or on a certain shelf here. I didn't always have it in one place. I didn't really think about it. They were just the games that I owned. And I guess in a way they were a bit of a collection. They were a collection of video games that I loved. But they were all over the place. And then when I started doing the show, I thought maybe I should put them all behind me and display them, because these are the games that I really enjoy in life. And so that's how that started for me. And then, over the years, I got, more video games. And so it became a collection, which is so unusual. And we're going to get to that in a second. What happened? What happened in 2008 is a very fascinating time. And it also started with the AVGN even before that, is that people were coming onto YouTube talking about older games. Back then, there was some people talking about newer games. Most people were talking about older games, like myself. And I think a lot of other people started watching, going, "Oh wow, I've been collecting video games my whole life as well," or "I love all these games from my childhood." And so people started to talking about retro gaming again. And there was a second coming of retro gaming. It was really insane. And people started to collect. Some people had never played any of these older games and were like, "Well, I want to play them." So they would go and buy them. And it happened, by the thousands. So I remember when me and Rob years ago reviewed Guardian Heroes, I think the game was going for like $60, even 70. And then after that it was over 100 after we did that episode. And so I'm part of the problem. I'm the first to say that. A lot of other retro channels are part of the problem as well from back then for creating the high price of video gaming. I'm also talking about that, the collectability, and how it's gone from fun to ridiculous. I remember there was a time when Rob could go down to a Salvation Army, look in the window, this is in like 2008, and see a Sega Saturn and like 10 games. And he would go that morning and knock on the door, they'd open up and say, "Oh, hey, welcome to the store." And he could just go and buy that stuff. And it was really cheap. Buying video games was cheap back then. It wasn't an expensive thing to buy retro games. You could some games were up there, but most were obtainable. And you could just go down to your local store, a pawn shop, and buy them and have no big deal. I remember going to a pawn shop here in Vancouver and buying a whole bunch of PC Engine games for like $10 each. It wasn't a big deal. And then YouTube came in and social media, and everybody started communicating, and everybody started sharing their love for these games. That's what it was all about. We accidentally all raised the prices on these video games by trying to share the love of these video games. And that's the unfortunate thing. I always say, I'm a big supporter of ROMs. So if you see a video game is super expensive, go play the goddamn ROM of it. You can't get that game from 20, 30 years ago. You're not gonna go spend $1,000 on it. That's stupid. That's stupid. And so, yeah, like for me, in collecting wise, for every game that I've ever wanted, I have every game that I've ever wanted in history. Every game that I get now is just the newest games coming out. But all the games from my history, like games I played at friends' places I always wanted to have a copy of, I have them all. So I feel very satisfied, and I think I've referred to myself as a collector before. I don't really feel like I am a collector. I don't really feel I have a collection, but I'm more one of those people that a game series that I like. So like here, Phantasy Star. This section is really important to me because I love Phantasy Star. When I look at this, it's a feeling of joy and pride, and me being able to show you guys, look, this is how much I love this series. That's what like collecting kind of means for me. It's a way to represent how much I love these games or these certain series. Now, a lot of people will buy an entire collection, like an entire collection of PlayStation 1 games or Genesis games, or like Super Nintendo games. Go out! It's amazing if you can do that. I would never want to do that. That's not for me. I really enjoy getting little collections of things that I like. Like I have a Ninja Warriors collection, and it's just a strange thing to have, but it means something to me because I have a lot of history with this series, and I have a lot of affection for the series. So I have a small collection, but I wouldn't say that I'm a collector in the sense I'm just collecting big series all over the place. I don't do that. Just for things that really mean a lot. What are some of your guys' practices out there for collecting? Do you just buy the latest games, or do you try to actively go back to the past and get every single NES game? Like Lucas from The Wizard back in the day. Do you want to be him? Do you want to do all of that kind of stuff? I've never wanted to do that. I really hate how in the retro market, though, the prices have gone from dumb to dumber, and I'm really angry about it. I'm angry about it in a lot of ways because there are some games. As I say, I got a complete collection of everything I want, but there's always the nagging little thing. Oh, I would like to kind of have that kind of thing. Like Neo Geo is something that I pride from my childhood. I love it so much, and I think to myself, I love the King of Monsters. I love that game, and I would love to have a copy of that game because it's that you have to play in the arcade. That's unobtainable. That's a dumb price, and I want the American version because that's the version that I played. So a lot of this stuff is like not even fun anymore. Retro collecting to me has lost its fun. I even think for people like the Game Chasers, I don't even know how they do the show anymore because when you go to these pawn shops or whatever, you're going to get these markets. These markets, everybody in there now really are savvy to the retro market, and they know the prices of all these games. Back in the day, it used to be grandparents saying, hey, okay, take these games. Now the grandparents know, oh no, I got a PC Engine, you're not getting it for $5, this is $50, and good for them. Good for them. You can still go to yard sales and score. I believe that is the one place that you can go. But even in Vancouver, I've never seen anything really good. It's always like some really older junk stuff, but I've heard of some people who have a lot of great success, and I just wanted to come in and talk about collecting and how it has changed. How it has changed from when I came onto YouTube to where it is now, and I enjoy owning all of my stuff. And I said this on a podcast a couple weeks ago. Somebody says, oh, do you have insurance for your stuff and all that? They're laughing. And I said, here's something that you guys won't realize about me, because you'll see all this stuff. You see I do a show about video games and some of the collecting aspect of it. And you'll think, oh man, he's really into stuff. He's really into materialistic objects. He's really into this stuff. I'm going to say something that's going to shock you. Something that you maybe don't know about me is that if I lost every single video game behind me, went up in a big flame, and the video games over here beside me, if they all went up in a big flame and I lost everything, I'd be okay. I'd be totally fine. Would it suck I lost those games? Sure. But the thing that matters the most to me are people. My friends, my family, my wife. I mean, that's what matters the most to me. This stuff is stuff that I played and I have a lot of nostalgia for. Guess what? If I lose all of it, the nostalgia is still here. It's still here within me. It's not gone anywhere. It's always there. I think the only one game I would be like, oh my god, would be Phantasy Star, the first game. Because that is a treasured moment out of my childhood. And if anything happened in that game, I'd be, oh no, I'd feel that one. And I love all these games. I bought them all day one. But if I lost them all, so be it. It's a bunch of games. I mean, that's all it is. As long as I have my family and friends, that's the main thing that matters to me, in life. But I do enjoy this stuff, and I do a show, and I do want to talk about video games because I love this hobby more than anything. More than anything, I think it's really interesting. What do you think has happened to the collecting scene? Do you think YouTube ruined it? Do you think it made it better? Did you learn a lot of stuff from all these YouTubers out there talking about these retro games? Did it make things better? Did it get you into collecting? Did it get you out of collecting? I'm curious. I just wanted to come in and talk about all of the aspects and all the things I've seen over the years through YouTube. It's been a very interesting ride, that is for sure. So anyways, guys, until next time.